which you've asked is probably the question every business leader has in his mind. I know my business is doing all right, but yet I don't know when a challenge externally will come. I'm doing good exports, but I don't know when a tariff can land on me, and I have no control over it. Similarly, the three large items which we import, paying foreign exchange, are all fluctuating, whether it is your crude, which luckily we have the capacity to refine, but the crude, not just the price of crude which keeps going up, but also the insurance cover and the risk which insurance demands to get your vessel going there and to get your vessel filled up and brought back. So price is a challenge. Foreign exchange reserve will have to be adequately kept for meeting these demands, growing demands. And growing demand is good because a growing economy requires these critical inputs. So it's the same thing as a business house, which will have these considerations before them, but for many of them, they don't have a say. They don't have a handle. So India's challenge is very similar. But of course, India's comfort is that you have a large domestic market, which is good enough with the consumption going up. But you still have a lot more intermediary and raw material products which you have to import. And that import is now under severe strain. So that's the challenge. And monsoon every year is a challenge for any finance minister. How will it work out? Will it be sufficient? Or is it going to be patchy, that some areas are going to be dry and some others are going to have excessive rain? That's a year-long, every year concern. But this year, because of the El Nino, I think we are preparing for not so good a monsoon. Of course, we have enough buffer stocks. Since last year we have maintained, so there shouldn't be a food shortage. But for farmers, it'll have an impact because this year his income will be stressed out. So I think broadly, I'm not saying anything that you don't know, but these are the challenges, and I'm not sure how much of a provisioning can you make. Just for that one example of fertilizer import, we had, during the budget, very clearly said to ourselves that the Kharif, we are sufficiently endowed with supplies of fertilizer so we can manage the Kharif. And we need money for tendering out for fertilizer that you may require for the Rabi, for which actually the supplies will start in November. Between the day of the budget and today, there've been at least 3 different major fluctuations. Some countries which do not want to get into the market, which are traditional suppliers, are no longer supplying. They want to stock it up for themselves. And there was fear that we are going to have short supply because those who have gone out are depleting the pool. But then came the news of China coming back, who had not been in the market for almost a year. So the supply was that shortage which people thought was offset. So 1 week you have a challenge, the next week that challenge is addressed, but newer challenges come up. So it's being ready for every such exigency.
The FMM, this is the finest moment of capitalism. Last week we have seen listing of SpaceX and creation of a trillionaire. So now the new buzzword is the world cap. I'll restrict myself to the subject I know, that is capital market. So this is the finest moment of capitalism, and farms and factories, they produce incomes for our workers and people at large. But capital markets produce wealth, which can create much bigger factories and much bigger possibilities. I mean, if you see SpaceX, it's a based on the possibility of whatever can be done in space. So it's a very powerful wealth creating mechanism, the stock market. And we have been blessed with one of the most wonderful stock market in the world. There are only two countries which are compounded stock markets. One is US, of course, and second is India so far. So I have 2 points to make. One is the only way the way we have gone about in the past is because of relentless growth of 7 to 8%, and that has given to the market 13 to 14% kind of compounded growth in market cap. Now that has created a problem with the FIIs. FIIs today, they hold about $800 to $900 billion of our stock, which is 16% of the market, 33% of the floating stock. In last 10 years, because we have done very well as an economy, our holdings, their holdings have grown at 3 to 4x, whereas my Forex reserve has grown just about double, from 400 to 800 billion. Now we have reached a situation where Forex reserve is just about 700 billion and their holding is 900 billion. So their holding to my reserve is less than 100%. So how do we, because they're very important, integral part of the entire system. How do we move forward from here in terms of this is there as a situation? We are doing very well. Growth is the only way out, and we are pushing the growth ahead. But when you grow at 7.5%, 8%, my corporate profits go at 14, 15%. And hence stock market will also grow at 30, 40%. That will build their value of the current situation as it is to 1.5, 2 trillion in next 8, 10 years. So, do you see, has it been, I'm just flagging the issue the way it comes in my mind. So any comment on that?
But 70% of the growth is ours, while 30% is theirs. 70% is our growth.
Yeah. It is our growth only which is creating challenge for us.
I think you've answered the question yourself in a way. Our own growth, our own participation in the market has really buoyed the stock market considerably. And as is the nature of the market, there are cycles when people make their profit, go out, come back, and so on. But not just leaving it there, between the RBI and the government, we've done some analysis and come up with an announcement last week, where the bond markets can be a very good, magnet to absorb those capital which can come in, making it into, FAR, so that the compliance routines are not going to burden people. And the withholding tax treatment which we've offered, we think will be the first step towards drawing some capital back, although we've at the moment confined it only to the bond market. But certainly that's not the end of the story. We'll be doing more. We recognize we need more foreign capital to come in. But the fact that RBI has now allowed public sector undertaking and banks to go out and pick money from outside, giving them a framework in which they can do it. And in that framework, a very important aspect is the hedging is at the RBI's expense. They don't have to hedge for the risks, particularly the currency-related risk, the volatility, the exchange rate risk. That will be on RBI. And as a result, the banks can now go unfettered to raise capital from outside. So we have taken a very calibrated approach to make sure that the markets do receive the required investments.
Another point, Hello. Yeah. Another point which is more positive is that because of there is a unprecedented capex boom all over the world, thanks to AI build up, which is one of the largest build out all over the world. Second is defense preparedness. Third is energy transition, and fourth is GCC boom in India. All these four are combining into massive opportunity even to Indians. I mean, whether in various forms, and it will become even more. But some of these opportunities are very short-termish in character. Like it may be there 16 months, 18 months, 20 months. So we need to respond to these opportunities very, very fast. Some of the corporates I met, they said, sir, it is not about the demand. It is about how fast we are responding in terms of supply, whether it is from regulatory side, whether it is from permission side, whatever it takes in India to get them moving, because that can also bring a lot of Forex. So they're saying it's a real challenge is supply side. Is it in the minds of the government?
Of course. In fact, we've been engaging with the states, not just the center to have a policy on data centers and GCCs, but also talking to the states to make sure they understand that these are going to be immediate job generating investments. I'm not sure if it is 15 or 16 months, but it is certainly going to be, at least in the coming decade, a predominant way in which data is going to be used. And as long as it is happening in India, I think it's good for the data security, and also in the process of creating the jobs, you will give a certain vibrancy to the economy. So states are coming up with policies. In fact, many states have come, and not just with the policy, they've been on their toes to meet up with people, get the GCC coming in. Earlier, I was in Bangalore yesterday. Earlier, it used to be just Bangalore, probably somewhat Hyderabad, and probably somewhat here in Noida or Ghaziabad. Now you have cities like Tumkur, Mangaluru, meaning tier 2 cities are also becoming hosts to data centers. And it is just spreading so quietly. Not till you get the data, let us say, from the CIA and FICIs of the world, you really see how speedily it is spreading, and people have not treated it as, oh, what is this? What's data center? No, there is a layer of our Indian technicians and also youth who are catching on this very easily. So I think the story about data centers and GCC is a story where, as you said rightly, how speedily are you going to capture that advantage, benefit from that challenge? And I would think the rate at which I'm seeing states respond to it, the story is a good one. It's going positively. The question which you've asked,